You are now watching Fourth and Inches.
All right, y'all. Welcome back to Fourth and Inches, man. I'm here for a good time, not a long time, all right? Nah, I just messing around. But my partner Rodriguez Moore was supposed to be back this week, but he's having some technical difficulties, so he ain't able to join us this week. But he's supposed to be back next week, okay? I'm not making any promises, but he's supposed to be back next week. Next week we're gonna be talking about the ACC a little bit more, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna make sure he makes it back so he can defend his man's Nick Saban, and discuss Alabama a little bit in general. So, like I said, man, I'm not trying to hold y'all for a long time, so we're gonna get it in, get it out, man. We're talking about the ACC this week. ACC is actually having their media days. I believe they started today. So I might even touch on that a little bit next week when we get to talking about the SEC, since they having their media days this week as well. But today, ACC. So first of all, out the gate, with this whole conference realignment situation, the biggest question for the ACC has been, are they going to expand? Are they going to lose teams to the SEC? Because it was reported that North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Miami were looking to negotiate their deal so they can get out of the TV rights deal with NBC, that the ACC has with NBC, so that they could potentially join the SEC. Now, the SEC has put out a statement saying that they don't want to expand past 16, but they put out a statement saying they want to expand past 12 and 92. And then 14, when they added A&M in Missouri, however many years ago that's been. So we'll see how it works. Everything is trending right now toward two super conferences and then everybody else. So I could very easily see a world where Clemson, North Carolina, Florida State, and Miami all join the SEC. That'll put the SEC at 20 teams. And then the next question would be, well, who is the Big Ten going to add? Oregon, Washington, Stanford, Cal, maybe. I'm just kind of throwing names out there, but at the same time, though, if you've been watching ESPN, SEC Network, ACC Network, anybody that's talking about college football, they're throwing out these same names with these same conferences, and I promise you, it's not coming from nowhere. It's something to it. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I am saying that it's being discussed. The biggest wild card left as far as a team that's, potentially moving conferences, though, to me, is actually Notre Dame. And Notre Dame is the biggest wild card because A, they're not in a conference. B, historically speaking, they're one of the biggest football brands in the country. They're just as big as Alabama, Ohio State, USC, Georgia, whomever you want to name. Historically, they're just as big, if not bigger, than all those other names, because Notre Dame has been a national brand pretty much 100 years, going back to the Nuke Rodney and all that. So with Notre Dame being independent and having the power that they have, they're an ACC member in every sport except for football. So the no-brainer would be, well, Notre Dame was just going to join the ACC in football. Then it's simple. Not necessarily. For those that don't know, Notre Dame is located in South Bend, Indiana. So they're actually right in the middle of Big Ten country already. Like before the expansion to California, they were already right there in the mix with the Indiana University, Ohio State, Michigan. Like they're right there. So geographically speaking, they will be a lot closer to the Big Ten. Their academic standards at Notre Dame fit more with what the Big Ten wants to do. The Big Ten has historically known as one of those conferences that take academics seriously. Even a school like Ohio State, as good as they are in football, their academics is serious. They're ranked one of the top schools in the nation year in, year out. So Notre Dame fits, even better with them. Although the ACC has, Wake Forest is a good school. Duke is one of the best in the country. Miami is one of the best in the country, even though people don't believe that. because all they know is Miami football. But Miami, school-wise, is right up there with Duke and Vanderbilt. It's one of those type of schools. So there's some academic heavyweights. Virginia is another one of those schools that people kind of overlook, but go look it up. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those type schools for real. So I can see it going either way. If we get a little in the weeds with the situation, Notre Dame has a TV rights deal with NBC. The ACC has a TV rights deal with NBC for the next 4 years. The college football playoff is intact the way it's going to be for at least the next 4 years. That's how long the contract is. So you could look at that and say, again, it's a no-brainer. They already on the same network. They could easily go into the fold. The question is, who is the Big Ten's TV partner going to be? Nobody knows at this point. They haven't announced it. They have some mega deal that is coming. So what if the Big Ten is partnering with NBC, and then the ACC decide they don't want to be with NBC no more? They go with ESPN. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what the SEC is. The SEC is partnering with ESPN. So it could play out a lot of different ways. I'm gonna be honest with y'all now. I'm curious to see how it plays out. Will Notre Dame finally join the ACC? Will they stay independent? And if they stay independent, how does that play out? One of the biggest roadblocks for the college football expanding was the ACC commissioner, especially. He's the guy that's been vocal about it. I don't want to just say it was him, because clearly it was more than just him. But he was the one that actually came out and stood on what he said. And I actually respect him for that. And his whole thing was, if we expand the playoff, then, conference champions should get an automatic bid. And a lot of people feel that way. The SEC commissioner, Greg Sankey, absolutely does not feel that way. And I understand why he feels that way. His thing was that if we're going to do conference champions get an automatic bid, then there should be at least as many at-large bids as there are automatic bids. Meaning, if you expand it to, let's say, 12, and you give all the Power 5 conferences, conference champions, an automatic bid, plus the highest ranked group of 5 team, whatever, however they're going to do. Let's just say that's 6. So you have 6 at-large bids. Well, the other conferences, the Pac-12 and the ACC in particular, who have been singled out, but other conferences were not willing to acquiesce to this, because their reasoning was, well, if you have that many at-large bids, then you'll have 5 or 6 SEC teams, make the college football playoff. Pretty much, pretty much. So that was kind of the issue, which is why they didn't vote to, change it. They didn't vote to expand, or they couldn't get the votes to expand it. So kind of interested to see how it works out, because with these conferences expanding, you might as well expand the playoff. You might as well. But again, if you do that, all that's going to do is give the SEC even more room to dominate. You know what I mean? So you might end up with an all SEC Final Four. Now, how that's going to look? You got Georgia, Alabama, A&M, Florida, or, any combination of teams. How would that look? How would you feel about that if you were the ACC and you voted to expand the playoff to 12, feeling like, okay, well, I can get the conference champion in, I might can get a couple of these at-large bids, you only get just the conference champion. It's gonna look bad, man. If you got Clemson in, let's just say Clemson. You get Clemson in and then nobody else, and then the SEC has Alabama, Georgia, A&M, Florida, Kentucky. It's gonna look bad, man. The Big Ten gonna have Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and USC. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's gonna look real bad. But we'll see how it go though. We will see how this thing play out. Interested, for real. So off the expansion for the moment, and let's talk about who might win the ACC. Of course, Clemson is the favorite. They've been the favorite for the last 10 years. I might be exaggerating, but I doubt it. So Clemson is the favorite. Okay, DJU is back. He's in the best shape of his life. He's lost weight in all season. So, will that play a role? You never know. It should. It should make him more mobile. He's a decent athlete, but he's not a true dual threat quarterback. He's a decent athlete with a big arm. He's more of a traditional pocket passing quarterback, which is good. But Clemson's offensive line wasn't really up to par last season. So his lack of mobility was a big negative. So a lot of people feel like he might have a short leash this season with the freshman coming in, Cade Klubnik, one of those 5-star quarterbacks. He's from the state of Texas. Maybe you'll see him play early. Maybe he won't play at all. We'll see how it works out. Clemson are going to be led by their defense, though. They much like Georgia was last year. Not saying they're going to beat Georgia. I'm just saying the defense is going to be the calling card of that team. Especially up front with Brian Brzee and Miles Murphy. Those guys are absolute monsters. They were last season. They're going to be again this season. They probably will go in the first 2-3 rounds of the draft, especially if they finish the season healthy. I don't see no reason why both of them won't go in the first 2-3 rounds of the NFL draft. I'm just being honest. So, with those guys anchoring their defense, especially up front, and they're able to stop the run and, put pressure on the passer, the defense is going to be pretty good. The defense is going to keep them in games. The question is, will DJ have a better season than he had last year? And we talk about it like he had such a bad season, but they still went 10-3, But that's what the expectations have been at Clemson, though. Now that they've risen to that point where 10-3 is a disappointment. Whereas when Dabo first got there, they hadn't won 10 games in a season in 20 years. Yeah, how about that stat? But challenging Clemson, though, you're going to have an NC State team that's also anchored by their defense. They have probably one of the best linebacking groups in the country with 17 returning starters as well, including the quarterback, Devin Leary. Devin Leary ended the season last year with 35 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He was kind of on fire. He was arguably the best quarterback in the ACC. A lot of people will say Kenny Pickett, and I respect Kenny Pickett. He went to the NFL draft. So can Devin Leary build on the success he had from last season and even take a step further, and really be that and step into that spot where Kenny Pickett was last year, where he was getting, some Heisman buzz toward the end of the season. If he can do that with the defense that they have, they'll have a chance to beat anybody they play, Clemson included. So can NC State, can they take the throne from Clemson this year? Can they knock Clemson off? Can they sneak into the college football playoff? I feel like they can. Whether they will or not remains to be seen. Another school that a lot of people have a buzz around is Miami. Mario Cristobal came home. He was the Oregon head coach. Now he's back in Miami where he played, where he was an assistant coach before. He's from the Miami area, so he's right at home. So that there's a lot of excitement. We got one of ours back running Miami the way that Miami is supposed to be run. It's his first season as the head coach of Miami, though. So to me, I don't expect a whole lot as far as wins and losses. I don't want to predict any of that. I mean, like I said, it's his first season coaching there. He's a good coach. And like I said, he knows the area. He's been recruiting very well. I mean, extremely well. He hit the transfer portal. They got some guys. They're going to have talent. He's a good coach. He has a new staff, though. So I'm going to treat him like I treat most new coaches. I'm going to say, man, give him 2-3 years and see what it looks like then. I do expect them to be good. I expect them to be good because the talent is there. Mario Cristobal is a good coach. He has a good coaching staff around him. You got people in this back like Tyreek Stevenson. That was a dog at Georgia. He's been a dog at Miami. Tyler Van Dyke finished the season last year very strong. So I look for them to try to build on what they did last season, even though, like I said, it's a new coaching staff. I look for them to try to build on that. I know Mario Cristobal hit the ground running as soon as he got there, putting in his system, trying to, get everyone on the same page as him. And he's a high energy guy, kind of like Kirby Smart is. So I'm excited to see what Miami's going to do this season. I look for them to be good and potentially challenge. It's just all about how does it really play out once they get on the field. So I don't want to set expectations too high for them, even though the potential is there. Another school that, that's kind of dark horse candidate is Pitt. Pitt is a solid team, but they lost Kenny Pickett, like I said, to the NFL draft. He's now with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ain't that something? Right down the hall. And they also lost Jordan Addison, the Biletnikoff Award-winning receiver. He's now playing at USC. So those are some big shoes to fill. The entire offensive line is back. They brung in Caden Slovis, the USC quarterback, out of the transfer portal. So we're going to see, man. We're going to see what happens. Keaton Slovis is a good quarterback, but he's more of a pocket passer, whereas Kenny Pickett was more of a dual threat. He could run and he could throw. I'm not saying Slovis can't run. I'm just saying he's not Kenny Pickett running the ball. Just point blank period. And Jordan Addison, you just don't replace guys like that. Like I say, he's the Biletnikoff winner. You know what I mean? He was the best receiver in college football last season. So we'll see how that turns out. My pick is for Miami and Clemson to play in the ACC championship game, but we'll see how it plays out, man. We still in July. We ain't even made it to August yet. It's around the corner though. But we haven't even made it to August yet. Media days are going on. Everybody's hyped. This is, what Josh Pate called it, the preseason magazine, era of things. So everybody's hyped right now. Everybody's excited. The season hasn't started yet. So I'm interested to see how the ACC plays out. As an SEC fan, I'm probably more excited and interested in how the ACC plans out, simply because it's so much up in the air. It's so many questions whether, who's going to be the school to win it all after what Clemson did last season, that it's I don't know. I narrowed it down to 4 schools that I feel like have a chance to win it. But who knows, man? Wake Forest might come out of nowhere again. Boston College might get hot. Boston College is always a scrappy team anyway. North Carolina might finally get their act together and be what we thought they was going to be when Mac Brown first went back. What is Georgia Tech going to look like? Because those guys are pretty much coaching for their job right now. Can they get bowl eligible? Because if you don't get bowl eligible, they're probably going to get fired. I don't want to see them get fired. They seem like a good staff. The head coach seemed like a good dude. But in this game, it's all about wins and losses. It's all about the bottom line. So we'll see how it plays out, man. Like I said, hopefully Rodriguez can join me next week. We discussed the SEC a little bit. Talk about Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher, both of them being real political at the SEC media days. But yeah, man, I appreciate y'all rocking with me, man. Stay with me. Somebody like, share, subscribe, man. Tell your friends about it. We just getting started this season. It's going to be a long year. I promise you, man. It's going to be a long year. But till next time, man, y'all be easy.